What is up, Square Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos, and today we're going to be bringing you our first attempt at the new Bardock Xeno Leader out of the Anniversary box. So this guy is super interesting. Let's just take a look at him real quick, see what he does. Permanent, reduce the cost by 1. Reduce the combo cost by 1 and negate the energy exhaust skill of all black multicolor battle cards with SS4 in their card name in all of your areas. So that's really good. Permanent, for each card color in your battle area and energy, this card gains plus 2,000 power up to a maximum of 10,000 power. And yes, black is a color. When this card attacks, look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck. Add up to 1 black card SS4 in its card name among them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Awaken when your life is at 3 or less, or you have 4 or more card colors in your battle area and energy area. Draw 2 cards and flip this card over. So this guy's a 5k leader on the front, which is very interesting. But, you know, one of his permanent skills giving him that plus 2,000 power for each color that you control, essentially, you know, it can help. I mean, turn 1, you charge a multicolor, you're going to have 2 colors, so he's going to be 9k. But then turn 2, he'll jump up to probably 11k or so. So it'll be your opponent's going to have to combo 1 on an unawakened leader to do damage. What's really interesting is the reduction of the combo cost for multicolors, as well as the negation of energy exhaust. It's kind of what makes the deck. It's really only playable in this specific strategy. And you know, looking at top 5 is always a good effect to add a specific card from your archetype to your hand. And then awakening and drawing 2. This deck doesn't really use a lot of energy. It's more of like a utility type deck. You kind of use your energy sparingly. So, you know, being tapped out or, you know, drawing 2 on awaken is really good because this deck doesn't draw a lot. It does cycle and filter a lot, but it doesn't draw a lot. So then when you awaken, you get to the backside, and he's just infinite value on the backside. We have SS4 Bardock, Prismatic Striker. He's awesome. He still has the same permanents from the front, you know, negating the energy exhaust, all that other stuff. But now his auto completely changed. Like, his skills completely change depending on what you have. So his auto, once per turn, when you attack, you resolve X for how many of X you control. So let's just take a look at him. So when this card attacks, resolve the effect below according to the number of non-black colors represented among black multicolored cards in your battle area and energy area. So if you have 2 or more colors, so this is excluding black. So you have to have red, blue, green, or yellow. Red, blue, green, red, blue, green, or yellow, excluding black. So for 2+ colors when you attack, this card gets plus 5k power for the battle, and then you choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode. For 3+ colors, at the end of your turn, switch up to 1 of your black multicolor energy to active mode. And then for 4+ colors, you draw 1 card and choose 1 of your opponent's unison cards and remove a marker. So this guy is like your Swiss Army knife. He does a lot. He rests stuff. He draws cards. He reduces markers on energy. He reduces markers on unisons. So he's kind of like a jack of all trades when it comes to what you want in a leader. And I think it's really interesting that they brought this in the Anniversary box, because the Anniversary box has like a draft style to it, if you will. You know, so the leader is you know, usable with the cards that you're getting. I do apologize for the glare there, but it's really interesting because it's technically your first official rainbow deck, you know, so to speak. Vegito from set 2 and, you know, Warrior of Universe 7 traits obviously, you know, have a lot to do with rainbow and multicolors and stuff like that. But officially, I guess you can say this is like the real, you know, first rainbow when it comes to black multicolor cards. So, yeah. So aside from the art looking pretty badass, this guy's really good. He's very good. You know, he could put a lot of pressure being a 20k attacker. He melts unisons, which is great. And we're going to see exactly the cards that we chose to run for this specific archetype to just kind of make it as playable as possible. I don't think this deck is tier 1, in my opinion. I think it's very playable. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of getting used to, because this deck is like super reliant on your sequencing. But, you know, we'll see what happens. So we're playing 3 SS4 calls. This is like your Rhoda for all you Yu-Gi-Oh players. This is your your tutor for the deck. Essentially, basically what you do is limit 1 for 0 energy. You look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and you can add up to 2 cards with SS4 in their name to your hand. If you added 2 cards, you have to choose 1 card in your hand and put at the bottom of your deck. So this is really good because it grabs cards with SS4 in its name. So it doesn't necessarily limit battle card. You could technically grab this off of this if you wanted to, but that's not really optimal because you can't activate it again. You can only activate one once per turn because it is a limit 1. That's why we're only playing 3. But you can grab your unison, which we'll get into. You can grab all your pieces and stuff like that. So I think it's a really good card in my opinion. It's kind of like my starter cards where I like to do turn 1. And then the unison for the deck is SS4 Bardock, Spirit Resonance. Now this guy came out in set 14. There's a lot of hype behind him initially when people started playing Hatch again. Because he's just a really good unison. But for this deck, I chose this guy because he's kind of like black. He's kind of like the Black Piccolo Jr., if you will. He pluses 1 every turn to draw a card, which is nice. And he's just going to kind of be sticky. He does have a Spirit Boost effect, which isn't the greatest. You get to choose 1 card in your opponent's drop instead of their warp. It's not the greatest thing in the world. And he does have a -2 where it's kind of like a floodgate. So he's good, and the fact that you can search him and have multiple copies when you need it is really good. You can also always put him at the bottom of your deck if you draw multiples off of Super Saiyan 4 Call or anything like that. So it's not a bad unison for the deck. I don't know if this is the perfect unison for the deck. I just feel like this is the one I'm choosing to play because I think it's better than the one that came in the anniversary box, the SS4 Broly. That's just my opinion. But I like this guy because you can search him. He is a 15k attacker, so if your opponent wants to draw their attention towards your unison, it's going to kind of keep your leader and your battle cards free of getting swung at. And also plussing 1 for drawing a card is really good because, like I said, this deck doesn't really draw a lot of cards. And then we're going to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the deck. So there's 2 different types of SS4 cards in this deck. You have your Aegis cards, you have your Prismatic Aegis cards, and you have your Prismatic Burst cards. So SS4 Vegeta, Prismatic Aegis. So your Prismatic Aegis cards are the ones that you want to charge. So I'll just give you a disclaimer right off the bat. You want to play 4 of your Prismatic Aegis. There's 1 for every color. So you want to play 4 blues, 4 greens, 4 reds, and 4 yellows because they get skills when they're placed in charge, which is very unique. It's probably one of the first, if not the first times we've seen this in this game where a card gets a skill off of being charged. So this Vegeta, basically, he's your blue energy, essentially. Basically, what you do with this guy is you play him, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, or you choose one of your opponent's cards in their hand, they bottom deck it, and then you draw a card. So you can kind of like, it's not really hand destruction, it's just kind of like, if you get lucky, you kind of do something. Like you're not really punishing your opponent. But it is, if you get lucky and you can snipe one of their like main pieces, it's really good. He also has a come into play ability. When he's played, you draw 2 cards, and then you bottom deck 1. So he's really good. A 2-drop 16k attacker is really nice. Again, he is a 1-cost 5k combo, but with a leader, you reduce the combo cost and you reduce the energy exhaust on the charge. So these guys you're going to see 4 of for the next couple cards. We have Super Saiyan 4 Gohan, Prismatic Aegis. This guy essentially is your spot removal when he's charged. Choose something 4 or less into the warp. When this card in your hand is played or placed in your energy, choose up to one of your opponent's, when your opponent's uses card with 3 or more markers are removed. So he removes markers from if they have 3 or more, and then when this card is played from your hand, choose one of your opponent's battle cards. Energy costs 4 or less and send it to his warp. So yeah, so you could remove a marker off a unison that has 3 or more. You can choose one of your opponent's battle cards 4 or less and warp it. And then, yeah, you could do that. So the auto of being placed in energy also carries over to being played. So essentially when you play these guys, they're going to get 2 autos. They're going to get their actual play auto, and they're going to get their first auto as well. So they do have a lot of really nice, nifty effects. They just kind of is reactive to what your opponent's trying to do. Spot removal, hand destruction, sort of. It's just a nice little way of mitigating some tempo from your opponent because, like I said, you want to get to turn 4, turn 5 with this deck. So being able to semi-control what your opponent does is really crucial in my opinion. Then we have SS4 Goku, Prismatic Aegis. So this guy basically is your yellow counterpart. So he's going to come in and start resting stuff and start negating stuff, which is really nice. Just so you know exactly what he does here. If your leader card is a Bardock Xeno, when this card in your hand is played or placed in your energy, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards. Energy costs 4 or less. Negated skills until the end of the opponent's next turn. When this card is played from your hand, you can choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, switch it to rest mode, and KO it if it's a skillless battle card. So it's actually really nice when he comes into play, because you can come into play, choose something that doesn't have barrier, negated skills, resolve the second auto to rest it and KO it. Again, more spot removal. It's a really nice, nifty effect to just kind of blank stuff on your opponent's side of the board until the end of their turn, so they don't have any responses. Like if you have pesky blockers or stuff like that you want to get rid of, is another way of doing it. All of these cards have the, if your leader is a Bardock Xeno, do X, so that's just something that they're all going to have. So just keep in mind, you want to play a Bardock Xeno. You can technically play the Mass Saiyan reboot leader, but only when he's awakened is he a Bardock. So it kind of doesn't make sense. You want Bardock on both sides just to be as efficient as possible. And also having the Anniversary Box leader does negate energy exhaust. Then we have SS4 Bardock Prismatic Aegis. This guy is interesting because he's the only Aegis card that we have that's a 3 cost, but he has a permanent that you can reduce his cost in your hand by 1. I don't know what the reasoning was behind it. I don't know why they made him a 3 cost. I don't know if there's something coming out in the future that needs a 3-drop Bardock. I don't know like what the deal is with that. I just don't know why they decided to do that, to make him 3 hard casted, but he has a permanent of reducing his energy by 1. So I really don't know why they did that, but this guy's also really good. They're all really good cards in a vacuum, right? So when this card from your hand is played or placed in your energy, choose one of your opponent's battle cards or unison cards, and it gets minus 2,000 power for the turn for each color in your energy. So you can have up to 5 colors in your energy, so that means that you can reduce a battle card or a unison by 10k for the duration of the turn. And then he's activate battle once per turn. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and it gets minus 5,000 power for the turn. So he can snipe cards or unisons that are 15k, which is nice. Most cards now are at least 15k base. So just being able to deal with it with just, one card is really nice. And again, you want to make sure that you can charge sequentially. I think the most important color to charge in the deck is probably blue, which we'll get into, but there's really no wrong time to charge any color. So you want to make sure that you have the opportunity to charge these guys, because these are the ones that you want to have in energy until you get to a certain point, and then you kind of just stop charging because they have other effects that can resolve off of other cards. So we're going to start getting into some more like proactive things you could do with SS4 Gohan Prismatic Burst. So like I said, you have your Aegis cards, you have your Burst cards. This guy is kind of like your Floodgate. Basically what he does is he's a counterattack that when you negate the attack, and then your opponent can only attack with battle cards or unison cards for each color in their energy. So if you're playing a monocolor deck, they can only attack once more. If they're playing a dual color deck, you can attack twice more. So that's basically what it does. It's a Floodgate. It's a 16k attacker, which is nice, and you can it has the skill of reducing its cost by 1 black. If you want to activate the counter skill, you can see it right here. You can reduce it by 1 black, so you just pay the 1 green, and then you're good to go, which is really nice. Having a let me just make sure that's how that works. If you activate this counter skill on this card in your hand, and there are 3 or more black multicolored cards in your battle area and or energy area, reduce the activation cost, of this card's counter, by black. So basically, okay, so because it specifically states activation cost, this card's activation cost is 2. So if you're reducing it by 1 black, it's now 1 green. So that's how you get to make it a 1-drop. So it's not reducing specified cost, it's reducing activation cost, which means that you have to pay 2 energy to activate this card, but if you control 3 multicolored cards in your energy or battle area, you can reduce the activation by 1 black. So we'll just kind of make that 1 black just green there. So it's basically a green Floodgate for this archetype, which is really nice if you're playing against monocolored decks. And monocolored decks are very popular right now outside of like blue yellow good stuff and like launch. You have Baby, you have, you know, any black deck. You know, most of these guys are monocolor, at least they're charging monocolor. So being able to punish these guys for 1 energy is really nice. We also have a card that we're going to go over shortly, which is what makes running all these guys really worth it, in my opinion. So I'm running 4 of the Bardock Prismatic Bursts. And the reason why I'm running 4 Bardocks and 4 Gohans is because these guys are essentially your negates and your counterplays, right? So he's your counterplay. Basically what he does, he's like your denial of hope. You also have the ability of reducing the activation cost by 1 black. So he's basically a 1-drop red denial of hope, which is really nice. And you get a body on board. So again, denial of hope was one of the best counterplay cards that we had printed in its, you know, day and age. And now just having a denial of hope on legs for 1 energy is really nice, because a lot of cards in the game are 20k or less. So you'll be able to hit that, play this guy out into the board, and then your opponent kind of has to just figure out what they're going to do. You have a 16k, so even on defense, they'll have to combo up. If he's in rest mode, they'll have to combo up at least 1 card on a 15k swing, which they're wasting a card to kill him, right? So you're kind of doing your job there. But 16k attacker, 2 energy is not bad. Again, these guys are like your defensive cards, so you want to max out on these. But the next 2 cards we're going to go over are also Prismatic Burst, and I'm only playing 3 of. So I'm playing 3 SS4 Vegeta Prismatic Burst. This guy is really interesting, and so is the Goku, but we'll get into it. Auto for 1 black. If your leader card is a black Saiyan card and there's a total of 3 or more energy between you and your opponent, at the end of a battle in which this card was used in a combo from your hand, play this card from your drop area in rest mode, then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 3 or less and return it to its owner's hand. So it's very, you know, very blue. It's a very blue card. Activate main for 1 black. You can send this card to your owner's its owner's warp, and then you could choose 1 black multicolor battle card with an energy cost of 2 in your hand and play it. At the start of your next turn, you can add this card from your warp. So, okay, let's unpack that, because this card does a lot. So, right, you combo for free because your leader reduces at combo cost. You pay a black to play him in rest mode from your drop area, and then he bounces something 3 or less, right? So that's that part. But then you can pay 1 black, send him to your warp, and play a 2-drop from your hand. So that I'm assuming that's why they reduced the cost of that Bardock from 3 to 2 with that permanent, because you can just play them. But this is really good because, remember, some of the Aegis cards that, even though we want to charge them, they have really good come into play effects, especially the Gohan and the Vegeta. So for 1 energy, you warp this guy away, you play the Vegeta out of your hand, you're going to draw 2 cards, bottom deck 1, and it just gives you another 16k attacker. If you want to use these offensively, you can combo with them at the end of your opponent's turn. You can get yourself another swing offensively and then tap them and warp them away. They kind of tag out. For those of you Yu-Gi-Oh players, these are kind of like gladiator beasts. You pay 1, you warp them, you get another 1 out, and you just keep the cycle going. And they come back to your hand at the start of your next turn, which is good because you can keep recycling them and just keep, you know, comboing them and warping them and gaining advantage that way. So this deck kind of is a go wide strategy. So you want to be able to put as much pressure on your opponent as possible, and having a free 5k combo that's going to do something proactively is really nice. I'm only playing 3 though because space reasons. A and B, like I said, they recycle themselves, so you don't really want to worry about them too much. And then of course his counterpart, which is the black and yellow SS4 Goku Prismatic Burst. So hold on, Prismatic Burst. So this guy, for yellow, basically what he does is, you know, same effect. After you combo, you can pay a black to bring him into rest mode. And then what he's going to do is he's going to choose 1 of your opponent's unison cards and negate its skill for the turn, which is really nice because if they have a really offensive unison and they want to either uptick it or, you know, draw a card, if they do their leader swing, you can combo and leader swing, play it, negate the unison skills. That's one less thing you have to worry about. And then he also has the skill of being able to warp himself to play a 2-drop, and you get him back at the start of your next turn. So these guys are just really good for just filtering out cards from your hand and getting you advantage because, like I said, the Vegeta card is really your main draw engine, and then the Gohan is going to be your main source of removal. Bardock is just nice for negging stuff at 15k, and the Goku is just good for popping stuff. So like I said, this deck has, you know, pretty much an answer for every situation depending on what your matchup is. That's what's going to lead towards you doing certain things. So that's basically the cards that we run from the archetype. It's a very heavy archetype. The archetype itself is about 48 cards. I'm not playing all 48 cards, but I am playing over 30 of them, so there's not a lot of room for text and stuff like that. Our super combo of choice is Super Saiyan Vegeta, the Prince Strikes Back. I don't like the Supreme Kai of Time super combo that comes in the anniversary box. I just don't think it's that good. And even though you are playing a multicolor strategy, all of your energy is black. It doesn't specify it has to be mono black, so you'll still be able to get Vegeta's auto. And again, he's just really good because he can put stuff back to the bottom of your deck that you don't really need right now and see 2 new cards. He's also fusion material, which we'll get into. Pseudo fusion material, if you will, because he is a Vegeta Xeno. But, the bottom deck draw 2 super combos are just really good. They're kind of falling out of play a little bit because, there's just other things that are going on right now in the game. But I still think these cards are really good. It's an older set 12 card or set 11 card. So this is the super combo that I would use unless you're just going to use your standard 4 or less draw card super combos. I would use these, of course, because there's more utility in them. I'm playing 2 of the Mass Saiyan Spirit Boost Enigma. I like this guy a lot. And the reason I like this guy is because he activates Spirit Boost on your Unison, which is not the greatest Spirit Boost, but it's something to do with it. So you Spirit Boost 1 and you pay 1. Basically what you do is you discard this guy, and then your opponent has the option of bottom decking a life, or he comes into play. And he's a 15k dual attacker, and he's blue energy. So, not that he's blue energy. This card is essentially colorless. This card's color does not matter because his energy cost to come into play is generic. You don't really need to specify anything, but he's just nice because he gives you another body. He allows you to kind of force the issue on your opponent. Like, okay, if you don't want to bottom deck a life, he's going to come out and swing at you twice, and then you could just combo him off just to go, just to get more width out of it. I really recommend only playing this guy, though, after your opponent's awakened, so it just kind of makes a decision that much more difficult. Do they want to have a 15k dual attacker come in, or do they want to just bottom deck that life and probably die to something else? So I like 2 of this guy. I think he's really good. They come in the Reboot Mass Saiyan starter deck. And then, of course, we're playing our Gogetas. We're playing 2, Thwarting the Dark Empire, the SS4, of course. He's just really good. I mean, you have Gokus and Vegetas. You have to be careful because for this guy, you want to use materials from your drop area or your battle area. So you really can't afford having too many targets in your warp because you're not going to be able to get them back. But this guy for 4 energy just comes down and he kind of just wins games if he's playing against anything that's not blue because they don't really have an answer for him. But you just kind of extend all the way to the point where you don't need to use your Gokus and Vegetas anymore. Pay 4, bring this guy out, and he just sits on the board. And if you win, great. If not, you have a follow-up the next turn with your 10-drop. SS4 Gogeta Prismatic Burst. This guy is just ridiculous. He's also Goku and Vegeta fodder, but from your hand or board. So Thwarting is from board or drop. This one is from hand or board. This guy's a 35k quad strike. When this card is played, resolve the following effects based on the cards in your energy, based on the card colors in your energy. So just bear with me because he's got a lot of text. For red, and these are when he's played. So for red, when he's played, deal a damage. For blue, draw 3 cards. For green, your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and discards them. For yellow, choose up to 1 of your opponent's cards and switch it to rust mode. And for black, choose 2 of your opponent's battle cards. Up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards sent into the warp. So he just kind of just does stuff. And he's 35k quad strike. If there's no answer for this, you're kind of just going to win the game. He's going to draw you 3 cards. He's going to make your opponent discard 2. He's going to rest something. And he's going to warp 2 cards. So he's just ridiculous. It's only 5 energy. So you want to get to 5, drop this bad boy and win. It's just basically what it does. You can easily win before that with Thwarting. But for some reason, if they floodgate you or if you get baby hatched, you can just go into Prismatic Burst the next turn. We're playing 1 Further Instruction Champa. This is from the anniversary box. I did pull the 1 foil that I needed, so I'm super happy I have a foil Champa finally. But I always play 1 Champa in all of my decks. And we're playing not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Sensu-Beans. This is essentially a blue deck. You're playing blue energy, you play Sensu-Bean. This extends your plays. This makes your Mass Saiyan a 20k dual attacker, which is super nice. This makes your Gogeta a 40k triple attacker, which is super nice. This gives you extension. It gives you plays in combination with your leader restanding. Just resending energy for extension has always been really good. Senzu Bean is one of the best cards in the game. It's been around since set 1, and it's stuck around this long for a reason. So I would definitely play 4 Senzu Bean in this deck. If you can't find the room for 4, I suggest you make them, because 4 Senzu Beans or busts in my opinion. And then the last 2 cards I'm playing are 2 Max Power Kamehameha. You really don't need to run extra card negates in this deck, because you have your Gohan negate, you have your Bardock counterplay, you have stuff that you could do. I have seen some lists of people running topos. I have seen some lists of people running like the Goku making an entrance, which is fine because it's another Goku target for your Gogetas, which actually makes pretty good sense. This is probably something I would consider substituting for Max Power. But I like Max Power because of the ability of spot removal, as well as, you know, the ability for negating. I like cards that have dual features like Power for Super Saiyan. So I just like Max Power Kamehameha in my opinion. But for the most part, that's the deck. Like I said, I was supposed to test this build out at locals this weekend, but my son ended up actually getting a little sick, so we had to, you know, put the kibosh on that. But I do plan on being back at locals next weekend, so I can test this out for you guys on stream. You could probably see some gameplay and stuff. We are also rocking the SS4 sleeves from the anniversary box, which are just, you know, they're not the best sleeves in the world. They look really pretty, but they're not the best sleeves in the world. It just felt appropriate for me to do it that way. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about this SS4 leader. Share with me some ideas that's been working for you. Am I missing something? Am I completely playing the wrong amount of ratios? Is there anything I should find room for tech, like Overwhelm? Like, I think you could probably make one really good Overwhelm a game, which is probably going to be Fu, the Dark Banisher, or Shrouded. But I don't know if I want to wait that long for 6 for Shrouded, so maybe I'd pay the Dark Banisher for 4. I don't know. I think you don't really need Overwhelm just because everything in the deck just operates so well within the archetype. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and please hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything No Counters, No Combos. We really do appreciate the support, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Be there or be square.